This is objectively the best way to meal prep for the week if you have some self-respect. You know those sad broccoli, chicken, and brown rice type meal preps where you eat the same thing over and over again? I mean, imagine you're 4 days in and you're having the same exact boring meal, only a little drier. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a meal prepper. Or at least I wasn't a meal prepper until I purchased a ridiculous amount of deli containers. Way too many deli containers, do not judge me. These things are your strongest weapon when it comes to meal prepping and cooking in general. And it's what restaurants use and what Jeremy Allen White uses in The Bear, so that's enough to convince me. Let me explain the philosophy here. Essentially, instead of prepping meals, we're gonna prep individual ingredients and building blocks that are gonna make assembling meals during the week extremely easy and fun, leading to no two meals being the same. You have both the convenience and the freedom and creativity. Plus, you get to feel like a pro chef every time you pop open that lid. By the way, the reason I'm wearing this tape is because I injured my wrist recently, which will be the least of my concerns by the end of this video. Let's start the clock and see how much time this will take me. Okay, the first thing I'll do is roast some veggies. This is pretty boring. Recently, I've been a pretty healthy boy, losing some weight actually, and veggies are a big priority for me. I need that freaking fiber. By the way, I've been reading a bunch of comments and even DMs about me gaining weight, which... come on, man. It's crazy how some people find it necessary to comment on someone else's body like there isn't a real person at the receiving end of that. I would really like to not care about all that, but my weight has been a big struggle for me my whole life, and it just really gets to me, man. Made me feel like shit on multiple occasions, I'm not gonna lie. Especially when I'm actively trying to lose weight, it just really doesn't help. Anyways, let's make some rice. And I'm not making brown rice because it sucks. I don't know what it is that bodybuilders love so much about alternatively colored white carbs. Like brown rice, brown bread, sweet potato. Have some fun, guys. Like, it doesn't make that big of a difference. Plus, it has a way better texture. I specifically mess with jasmine rice. That is my jam. And of course, I'm using my trusty Weiss cooker because it makes perfect rice without me having to think about it at all. And I can reheat this in a microwave, make fried rice down the line, do whatever I want with it, but really those are kind of the only options. And speaking of bodybuilding meals, let's make some chicken breast. And my plan with these chicken breasticles is to make them into something I can have cold, out the fridge, literally scoop it out of the container, and that thing is chicken salad. You guys know I love chicken salad. I will first poach my breast in simmering water, which, trust me, if you do it correctly, will lead to a way juicier breast than just drying it in the pan. While that is resting, maybe the most essential part of this process is the mise en place, which is the fancy way of saying prepping raw ingredients that are going to be used in cooking down the line. And here you need to keep in mind what you use most and is most annoying to do when you actually cook. For me, it's definitely onions. So I took a bunch of onions and I was planning to slice them, but then I had the brilliant idea of using a mandolin instead of a knife because it's probably faster, easier, and it leads to Michelin star thin slices like these. But please, if you do this, I beg you, you need to use the included guard. Do not raw dog the mandolin. That's stupid, because this might happen. I am objectively one of the biggest stupids. This time I use my freaking guard. God. Yup, that's me. And yeah, it was a pain in the ass to continue prepping this shit. It's crazy how a little finger cut can just completely ruin my mood. I'm not strong enough to deal with this shit. I did bell peppers, scallions, and a bunch of fresh herbs. This is a mix of parsley, cilantro, and dill. But I was honestly kind of sick of everything at this point. In the meantime, our chicken breast has finished resting, and now we can shred it. And now I can use the stuff I prepped before to prep even more stuff, which is pretty cool. I was also gonna add capers, but I forgot. You should add capers. And also, if I wasn't trying to minimize the calories like a beta, I would add way more mayo to this, plus maybe some dried cranberries or something like that. But for now, this is perfectly fine. I can scoop this onto tortillas and make a straight 1-minute lunch wrap, for example. That freaking mandolin completely took me out for the day, so I had to come back the next day with a reinforced bandage, ready to prep some more shit. And I was excited because I recently purchased this guy, a pressure cooker. It really seemed to me like a gimmicky telemarketing product, but I've heard some good things about it, so I wanted to try it out. And I went completely lazy mode, just threw everything in there, no browning, no flavor building, no nothing. I even put in some overall rub, which I don't even know what that is, I just saw it in the store and thought it sounded funny. Not a sponsor, but I would totally take that bag. Speaking of which... Hey everyone, I am Kevin's video editor, Kevin, and I frequently struggle with my mental health, mainly due to how my employer treats me. Therapy is, I think, a very important tool that sadly is not very accessible for a lot of people. It's very expensive, it also takes a lot of time and effort to get, and also at the end of the day, you might not even like your therapist. Well, today's sponsor, BetterHelp, is an app where you can get professional therapy online without any of that hassle. All you have to do is fill out a questionnaire about your situation. In my case, it's a crippling existential anxiety. After that, they quickly match you with a therapist within 48 hours in most cases. Then you can schedule out sessions with your therapist whenever you want to. And if you're not happy with your therapist for any reason, you can always change them at no additional cost. So if you feel like this could be a good option for you, go to betterhelp.com/KWOOK. You're gonna get a nice discount. And you also get to support the channel. Hopefully Kevin can pay me a little bit more because right now the situation is dire. Thank you, BetterHelp. Now let's see if this pressure cooked this pressure cooked chicken good. Ah, shit. That's fucking scary. Oh my god. Shit. Whew. Surprise, surprise, the chicken was actually beautifully cooked. The meat was falling apart. I didn't really believe. Initially, I didn't really believe in this device, but honestly, I changed my mind. Somehow it has that slow cooked quality without actually slow cooking, which I don't really get how. I assume it's some science stuff. While that cools down, let's work on our third and final protein. And I'm sure this is probably some recipe someone made before, but in my world, I'm the pioneer of this method. I basically chop the salmon into bite-sized cubes and build a sauce based on miso, dark soy, mirin, sesame oil, garlic, and brown sugar. It's gonna look very unpleasant if you think about it too much. But I take this paste and just coat the salmon in it. Place them on a baking sheet, making sure they all touch the surface. And then put it in the oven with that fan mode on. It's called convection. It's gonna brown the tops faster, and that's exactly what we want. I want my salmon to be almost charred. I'm really into that almost burnt surface. And then biting into that, and it's like a soft, juicy inside. Relax. It's very close to lunchtime, so at this point I was straight starving. However, before I had lunch, I wanted to make another side, and that's simply put tomatoes. I love tomatoes, specifically salted tomatoes that have sat in salt and their own juices for a while. And I also like a touch of vinegar in there. I really feel like that salted tomato taste hits in a way that nothing else in the world hits. These are quite shit tomatoes if I'm being honest, and I cannot wait to go back home to Romania this summer to stuff my face with those tomatoes. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. Look how easy it is to assemble a very decent lunch using the stuff I already made. It takes like 1 minute to put all this stuff together, and at least in my opinion, the freedom this method gives you will make your meals exciting every single time. So now we have 3 proteins, but you may have realized a very important thing is missing. There's no way I was gonna go through this week without beans. I think no human should unless you're allergic or something. I'm going very basic here, just making a bean salad, load it up with capers for that briny hit, and that's pretty much it. And I'm just now noticing somehow most things I make fit perfectly into that container. It's pretty wild. For my final side, I had some potatoes, and I didn't want to overthink it. Just chop them up, and I wanted to put this pressure cooker to another test. How well can it steam these potatoes? It comes with a steaming rack, so I just dumped my potatoes in there, pressed a couple buttons, and that was it. Yeah. God. Honestly, I was gonna make a potato salad or something, but I had 1 bite, and I felt the most perfect potato texture, so I didn't want to mess with the purity of it. Just like a waxy, almost chewy, but still soft potato, and all I added was salt. Perfection. Now I know I'm pushing it, but for the last thing, I needed like an all-around sauce. And I didn't have a plan for this before, but I just saw this leftover cucumber, so I decided to turn it into a tzatziki type sauce. Added yogurt, tahini, and a bunch of dill. And that was my sauce. And there it is. It did take me 3.5 hours, split into 2 days, but honestly, I worked in a highly inefficient manner. I think you could easily knock this time down to 2.5 hours or so. And I think it's super worth it. Just look how easy it is to assemble an amazing meal. 1 minute, healthy, delicious, exciting. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. I don't know what else to say. Bye.